Welcome back. Today we are looking at a YouTube script called This Brain Control Technique was banned by psychologists.
Right.
It blends Jacob Grinberg's work with quantum mechanics to teach something called presuppositional questions.
It's a really dense and fascinating piece but we need to get straight into the feedback because there are some big structural.
Yeah, let's do it. So a key theme, I think, is this tension between trying to be scientifically credible while using these, very sensationalist hooks. The script really leans on a forbidden knowledge angle, and that might actually undermine the science it's trying to present.
That's the first major hurdle, isn't it? I mean, you see phrases like banned by psychologists or that psychology dismissed it because it worked too rapidly.
And that just immediately sounds
Conspiratorial.
exact. It creates this adversarial relationship with science from the get-go.
But then it turns right around and tries to use neuroscience, the reticular activating system, quantum mechanics.
To prove its point.
Yeah.
You can't tell your audience that science is a conspiracy and then use science as your proof. It's a huge contradiction.
And while that forbidden fruit thing might work for, a general audience click-through rate,
This script isn't for a general audience. It's clearly aiming for someone who's already interested in Grinberg and quantum theory, a deep expertise listener.
and that listener hears banned by psychologists, and their skepticism alarm goes off immediately. They know that's not really how the field.
It just screams clickbait instead of insight.
So how do we fix it?
To shift the whole narrative frame. Move away from conspiracy and suppression.
And move towards what?
Something like overlooked complexity, or maybe a paradigm shift.
I like that. That's a much stronger angle. So instead of banned, you could say,
You could say, this technique was overlooked because it challenges the traditional linear models of therapy.
yes, that respects the listener's intelligence. It makes them feel like an insider.
And what about the part on Grinberg? It focuses a lot on his disappearance, the mystery.
The danger. Yeah, and while that's traumatic, it's a distraction.
So we should focus more on the difficulty of what he was attempting.
Exact. Frame him as a pioneer, not a martyr.
Give me an example of what that would sound like.
Sure. Something like,
Very few researchers have attempted to bridge the chasm between empirical science and mystical understanding. Grinberg didn't just theorize. He built the lab protocols to test.
I see. That invites the listener to be a pioneer with him.
It builds real authority. Okay, let's move to the physics part, because this is a big one.
The script conflates metaphorical resonance with literal quantum physics, which is a huge risk with a scientifically literate audience.
It's the most common trap in this entire genre, isn't it?
It is.
The script presents the double slit experiment as definitive proof that our thoughts collapse reality.
And then it says, contemporary research confirms consciousness influences subatomic particles.
Which is a massive stretch, scientific, a huge logic.
In physics, observation is about measurement interaction, like a photon hitting a sensor. It's not necessarily about human consciousness.
And when you state it as an absolute fact, anyone with even a passing interest in science is going to check out.
They'll think, okay, this person doesn't actually understand the science they're quoting, and you lose them.
You lose all credibility.
So the ambition here is good, trying to link the mind to the universe, but we need some bridge language.
Exactly. We need to treat quantum mechanics as a powerful analogy, not as settled proof.
Like using as-if phrasing.
Yes. So that line, science is beginning to validate what mystics taught. How would you change that?
You could change it to something like, we can look at the observer effect as a powerful metaphor for how our attention filters our experience.
Just as measurement determines the particle's state.
Our focus determines the state of our opportunity.
See? That keeps the mystical feel without making a claim that's so easy to debunk.
It lets the skeptic stay on board. They can appreciate the metaphor, even if they don't buy the literal connection.
And for the Grinberg theory about the neuronal field being the quantum field,
That's another place for subtle language. Instead of saying it is the quantum field.
frame it as Grinberg posed the neuronal field interfaces with the pre-space in a way that mimics quantum collapse.
Interfaces mimics. I like that. It moves it from pseudoscience into high-level theory.
Much safer ground. Okay, let's talk about structure and pacing.
Right, because the main tool, the actual thing you're supposed to do, the presuppositional question, it's buried way too deep in the script.
Oh, I was watching the clock on this. You go through the holographic universe, centric theory, the subconscious, all of it.
Before you finally get to the technique, like asking, why am I so wealthy? And by then, you're past the midpoint.
It feels like the writer is trying to prove how much research they did before they give you the goods.
which is understandable, but it's just deadly for viewer retention. The whole time I'm thinking, okay, but what do I actually do?
We need to flip it. We have to use a cold open or a flash forward or something.
Get the tool up front, and then use the theory to explain why it works.
Don't save the best for last. Put it first. So give me a concrete example for a new open.
Okay, imagine the video just starts, no intro, just ask yourself right now, why has attracting abundance become so effortless? Stop. Notice how that feels different than just saying, I am wealthy. That feeling, that's the key to your reticular activating system. Today, we explore the neuroscience behind it.
That's so much stronger.
Isn't it?
I literally just felt the technique work in the first 10 seconds. I'm hooked. I want to know why.
Exactly. You give them the aha moment immediately. Then the rest of the script is problem, affirmations don't work, solution, this question technique, and then the deep dive into Grinberg to explain it all.
So the theory supports the tool instead of being a barrier to it.
Brilliant. Now let's look at the part about the God state. This is where the script gets into the emotional side of things.
Yeah.
And the description of this state, I think it sets a perfectionist standard that might just discourage people.
It's a usability nightmare. It says you need complete presence, constant elevated emotion.
Total identification.
And it says if you check your bank account and feel anxiety, you're reinforcing the old pattern. You're ruining it.
It's the classic don't think of a pink elephant paradox.
It is. You're now stressed about being stressed. If the standard is never feel anxiety, then I'm going to fail on day one.
And then you feel like you failed the whole thing. It makes the practice feel incredibly fragile, like walking a tightrope.
And that pressure creates more resistance, which is the very thing we're trying to get rid of.
So we need to humanize this. We need to focus on recovery, not perfection.
Yes, and we need to be explicit that slipping up is normal. The script should add something like a 5-second reset.
What would that sound like?
You could write, when you check your bank account and feel that anxiety, don't panic. That's just old data. Your job isn't to never feel it. Your job is to catch it. Take 5 seconds, breathe, and pivot back to your question.
I love that. The win isn't the absence of anxiety. The win is the speed of the recovery.
It turns anxiety from an enemy into just a training signal.
It makes it feel like reps in a gym instead of a pass-fail test.
And the same goes for behavioral alignment. Instead of acting like a perfect millionaire,
reframe it as acting despite doubt.
yes, acting with total conviction is almost impossible for a beginner. Acting despite doubt is something I can actually do today.
That's much more actionable. Okay, let's talk about the timeline.
The 48-hour promise.
Yeah, the distinction between what happens externally versus internally needs to be way sharper to avoid disappointment.
It's a clarity problem. The title says works fast, and it mentions 48 hours. But then deep in the script, it says the result might just be a feeling of lightness.
Which feels like a total bait and switch.
It does. If I'm promised a result in 48 hours, I'm expecting something tangible, a check, a phone call. If I'm told, well, you feel a bit lighter, I might feel cheated.
And then you think the technique didn't work and you quit.
So this is all about managing expectations. We have to redefine the win right at the start.
What do you suggest?
I'd create a specific exercise. Call it the evidence log.
Okay, how would you script that?
You tell the viewer, for the next 48 hours, your only job is to write down internal shifts. Feel lighter? Did you react calmly to bad news? That is the manifestation. That's the field reorganizing.
That's great. It gamifies it. It trains them to look for the subtle, immediate signs.
And it validates their progress so they don't quit before the big stuff happens.
So you change the phrasing from the concept of manifesting may sound unrealistic.
Yeah. Change it to something confident, like, in 48 hours, you will see the field begin to reorganize. This starts as an emotional shift. If you miss the emotional shift, you'll miss the physical one that follows.
That puts the responsibility on them to be observant. I like that.
Exactly. Okay, one last point. The sleep window.
The pre-sleep visualization. It's a powerful idea, but it's missing a safety net.
It tells the user to hold that state as they fall asleep.
I've tried to do that. It's really hard.
It's incredibly hard. You're trying to hold this elevated emotional state, which keeps your prefrontal cortex active. It can literally prevent you from sleeping.
Or you just fall asleep in 2 seconds and forget, and then you wake up feeling like you failed.
You're stressing about the technique, which ruins the whole point of the receptive alpha-theta state. It turns bedtime into a chore.
So we need a passive alternative?
Yes, give them an out. Suggest they record their question on a loop and just play it at a low volume.
So the subconscious hears it, even if they're not actively thinking about it?
Exactly. Or just add a letting go step.
What do you mean?
The script could say, if you can't hold the feeling, just ask the question once, trust it has been received, and let yourself drift off. You don't need to force it.
That removes all the performance anxiety right when you need to be most relaxed.
And it's much more aligned with the science of hypnagogia anyway. You want to be drifting, not concentrating.
Okay, this has been a really productive critique. Let's just quickly recap the main action items.
First, and this is the biggest one for authority, tone down the banned science angle.
Right. Reframe it as overlooked complexity to build genuine trust with your audience.
Second, use that bridge language for the quantum physics. Metaphors, not literal claims.
Third, flip the structure. Move the question technique to the very beginning. Hook them with the what before you explain the why.
Don't bury the lead. Fourth, reframe the God state and the 48-hour results.
Make it about progress and internal evidence, not about perfection and instant magic.
Turn it from a test into a practice.
And finally, fix that sleep window instruction. Give them a passive, stress-free option.
Make it easy to win.
We really encourage you to revise the script with these shifts. It has incredible potential, but it needs this calibration to land with the authority it's aiming for.
Absolutely. It's a great concept. It just needs to get out of its own way a little.
Once you have a new draft, feel free to send it back to us for a follow-up. Thank you for listening to The Critique.